Welcome back to the Foundation in C# course. We are currently in Module 9, and this lesson, we're going to set up our planning step U, so our user interface design step. So let's go to your homework. The homework is to sketch out a basic user interface design. When I say basic, I mean basic. Just what you need to figure out how this thing's going to lay out. Don't be too detailed. Just identify the basics of the page or form we will need. All right, so that's your homework. Go ahead and do that. Pause the video right here and come on back when you're done. Okay, I'm going to assume that you've paused the video, you've done the homework, and now you're back and you want to see how I do it. So let's go to OneNote again. I've moved over. We may have to readjust or resize this right here because this, oops, I have my pen set up already. So let's go back to this. This right here might get in our way. So you might have to shrink it down a bit. In fact, I'm going to already do that. I'm going to shrink it down just a bit. Let's go to, let's see what size 14 looks like. I think it's a little better. I'm going to also drag it like so to make it a little smaller. So these are our pages we need. In fact, we don't even need that. We do know about that. We don't need to have that really. We can kind of shrink it down if you wanted to, but I'm just going to leave. This is our MVP. Now let's, well, I got a dot on the screen right here. Let's delete that. Let's go ahead and go to our Draw tab and select our pen, the light gray one. I'm going to draw out, first of all, I'm going to start with the very first one where we have our web page, and that is searching for our room. So what we need here, we need some kind of date box. I'm just going to put in one of them, date, and yes, this is horrible. I'm using my mouse for this. This is the start, and so we actually come over here and we can grab, well, let's not worry about it. That's our date, and then we'll have another one here, which is also a date, and what that'll be is the end date. All right, and then we'll have this box right, or a button right here that is search. Okay, and this is almost how horrible my forms look like. Okay, that's all it's going to be at the top is this information. And then down below, what it's going to do is it's going to show the details of our search. And then from there, what we can do is we'll have buttons on every row that take you to a booking page. Okay? That's our searching for a form. And they can choose one of these to book. They click the button. And then from there, we'll go to the next page. So this is page 1. And then page 2 is going to be, it's going to have ask for guest info. So that'll be for name. So first name and last name, let's say. And it'll have room detail information. And then a button here that says book. Okay, that's it. So that's page 1 is to have a start date and end date and a search button. That's going to give us a list of available rooms. And then page 2 is where they enter their first name, their last name, and then they see the information about the hotel room. Maybe it's got, a hot tub. Maybe it's got one bed versus 2. That'll be the information we display there. We won't have much for this MVP, but we can even just say whatever this line is right here, we'll display that over here. Okay? And then we'll have a book button. When I book it, that's where it's going to lock it in. Now, we don't have any page after that, so we'll probably go right back to page number 1 and say, okay, you want to book another room. Cool. Maybe we'll have Nothing. That's it. We're going to have a search. It's going to fill out probably a data grid or some kind or something similar. Then we'll have a way to say, check that person in. That's it. Okay? Now this may seem very simplistic. Let's zoom out a little bit here so you can see it. And yeah, it's a little simplistic. And you know what? That's okay. Because that's exactly what we want. We want just a minimum viable product. We can make this prettier later. We can add more pages to this later. Those are things we can add as additions or as version 1.1 options once this is running. But we want something that'll work first. And then we'll make it better. Maybe we find out that this flow for WPF just doesn't work. Maybe there's something more that the front desk person always needs to know. Or maybe you find out that people just forget their last names. Well, that'd be a problem here. So whatever the case may be, they'll let us know and say, you know what, this doesn't work. Let's rethink how this form works. If you have 20 forms that are all invested in this check-in process, and the user comes to you and says, step 1 doesn't really work for us, you have to change all 20 steps. But if you have one page that is one thing, and they say, you know what, scrap that whole thing, we got to start over with something different, not a problem. We've spent an hour on this. We can change it and do something totally different. Okay, so you're losing an hour of your time versus weeks. So a minimum viable product, right? That's what these two represent. And this is all our user interface design. That's it. That's everything. Now this does bring up, and let's go back, let's create something here. Let's change this font size to be something more readable like 18. And let's say missing pieces / future version ideas. Okay? Because there's some things here that we've noticed. So web needs a place to a confirmation page. Web needs a confirmation email. WPF, maybe it needs, what does it need? Well, maybe it needs to have some type of confirmed checked in. Okay? So the fact that when you check that box, what's going to happen? It's going to do its thing. I mean, I don't know. It's probably going to come back to the search page afterwards. Are they really checked in? Well, we don't know. Because it's not going to give us a lot of visual feedback. So maybe you want to have a confirmed check-in page or a place we can search for who's checked in. Or maybe it shows on this page, here's the people that have checked in versus have not checked in. We haven't talked anywhere about taking money. So cost of room, how about the the check-in fee, okay, if the room costs $100 a night, you're staying for 3 nights, that's $300 plus tax and fees and all the rest. There's your total. So check-in payment, I guess probably a better way of saying it. Invoice. So these are things that have come up. Now you've done the UI portion where you say, hey, you know what? If I actually use this is the things I'd be looking for. And that adds more to our open up the requirement step than even we thought about in that step. And that's okay. This is an iterative process, and that's why you go through these 5 steps. Because these 5 steps will raise things about the other steps. So step 1, the walk through it, we identified some assumptions. We identified some things that we have to think about in the next step. Well, in this step, we've identified some things that we've also assumed or that are necessary for future versions or be really nice to have for future versions. Okay? This getting it visual, where you see the planning, this is where you start really making your application more full-featured. And if you do it here, it's a whole lot easier to change things. So if we say, you know what, we have to add payment. We have to. Well, if that's part of your MVP, then here's the things you need to do. You need to start changing your UI for it. You need to go back and and change your requirements. Now, we're not going to, because that'd be a whole big issue as far as how do you do that, and how do you do taxes, and how do you take payments, and what cash versus check versus credit card, and all. We're not going to worry about that. Okay, this is an MVP. This is just to get working. The assumption is that the person at the check-in desk says, okay, when I'm checking you in, you want a room for 3 nights. The room is $100. Therefore, that's $300 plus tax. You just tell them that, and then they give you a credit card. They swipe through the machine. They type in the number. It prints out one of those paper receipts they can sign. There you go. That's minimum. That's just bare minimum for what you can do, but that would work, and it wouldn't have to have anything to do with our product. Okay, so that's why we're going to avoid that. But these steps do interact with each other, so don't be afraid to go back to a step, or to add to that to a different step, or even to a future step. So maybe you see something here that says, okay, I need to really think about, what data do we have about the rooms? Okay, so maybe I make a note and say, you know what, we need to know X, Y, and Z about a room. I'll put that as a note for my data planning or data design so that I don't forget it. But with that, we've now finished our user interface design. It's actually a lot easier than some people think. We're not going to do, again, that pretty application. We're not going to even design the whole page. Okay, a WPF application looks like more than that. You got the little X in the corner and the maximize and the minimize. Nope, not worry about that. We just want to know, what does the actual form look like? We can worry about labels and header information and all the rest. We can worry that when we actually build the application. We just need to know roughly, what does this page look like? Okay, we've done that in this design step. So now you've done this, hopefully yours looks similar, or you have some similar ideas. Maybe you thought about some things that are assumptions that I had that I didn't even notice. Okay, if you did, think them through. Put them down a piece of paper, think through what you would do. Either way, once you're done with that, then move on to the next lesson where we'll talk about our logic design.